much. So I'm just going to invite Lan to come back onto the stage, and I believe Lan will be bringing her panel with her. So Lan, I'm going to duck back under the table and sit back and really look forward to your cybersecurity discussions. Thank you, Lan. It's all yours.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I have now everyone on. Yay. Well, I want to apologize for the earlier short break because my computer kicked me out. So thankfully, quick action got us back on track. So for this next panel, I'm extremely excited. We got the previous two speakers, Jose and Zephyr, who were able to give us a high-level reviews of the needs of the cities and the societies in terms of being resilient together as a society. Now, this next topic, we have the pleasure and honor to have a group of leaders who have been on the front line to bring the innovations to the forefront, to the people who need it the most. So it's about finding, I'm going to start sharing my screen now. It's about finding digital safety net. Team, can you see the sharing is coming through? Just want to quick confirmation that.
Yeah, we can see
it. Okay, excellent. Okay, so it is about finding digital safety net. Now, as Zephyr mentioned earlier, some people are already in dire situations because of COVID. So it is important that they get this service at zero cost. So why are we doing this? A quick review of the trend you can see is that the commerce growth in this past 10, 20 years has going side by side with traditional retails versus e-commerce. You can see the growth rate has been favoring e-commerce consistently at a 10% difference. And especially now with COVID-19, it's a 20% difference in the growth. And even before this COVID pandemic, the previous crash in the United States has been a big gap as well. So one can say that digital truly is a safety net for our society, for our small businesses, the whole society. So this particular presentation focuses on the United States as an example, but it may be applicable to other countries across the board. So this is why we are doing this here together, and to share with us the experiences, successes. We have very visionary leaders and people who have done it. So let me do a quick intro of the people at this panel. So myself, I'm Lan Jensen, and I lead a nonprofit that's called Adaptable Security Corp, which is to be growing into Cyber Trust America, and also all the other brands. It could be Cyber Trust European Union, for example. Next, we have Raymond. So I'm going to, when I call your name, to save us time, I'm going to invite you to do a 1-2 sentence intro very quickly, team. So Raymond, would you mind sharing with us?
Thank you, John, for inviting me to participate in this great event. So I'm Raymond Rodriguez. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer and Director of Information Technology with City of Coral Gables in South Florida. Great to be here.
Thank you, Raymond. Scott, would you please next?
Certainly. Scott Towsley, again, Lon and John David, thank you for the chance to participate. I spent many years at the U.S. Department of Homeland Security helping work Global Cities Team Challenge Smart City work as a partner with mostly the NIST organization, of course. And several years ago, I transitioned and took on a new challenge with Splunk, which is a major software company where we have a lot of interests in this space. And I work frequently with our state and local sales organizations around smart city related topics of one kind or another. So very glad for the chance to contribute. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Pam.
Hello. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you, Lon. Thank you, John, and the rest of my panel here. So I am a cybersecurity expert and have been in the industry for over 25 years. So I'm really happy to join Scott and Lon as a co-chair of the CPAC, which is Cybersecurity Privacy Effort for NIST for smart communities. In addition to that, I am running my own company. It's a security company, and Zephyr had talked about AI, for example, becoming a big one of the bigger drivers today. That is an area of focus for me, and I started an initiative called Building Trust in AI, which is a multifaceted approach, and I'm very happy to talk to anyone who wants to go more into it offline. But coming back to this panel, I'm really interested in seeing how we can provide value to the audience.
Indeed. And to tie everyone's experience together back into this one, all four of us got to know each other because we are members in that NIST-led initiative that Scott just mentioned. It's called, and when I say NIST, it means National Institute of Standards and Technology, an agency in the U.S. Department of Commerce. It's being a body of a lot of technical standards and the ways to measure. Actually, if you ask them, they say they are in the business of measuring and implementations and different standards. And the image background picture over here is the coverage of that initiative. So it has over 500 smart cities and organizations in that initiative together. So for our conversation today, we listed out these three topics we're going to cover. First is, how is one city doing this important initiative at the time of need with security baked in? Because we know in the past, we'll come back to that. Let's just cover the three high-level questions first. Second is, how can it scale? With tremendous experience, we want to have it spread out to everywhere that can take it up and do it. And thirdly, how can you help? Just like myself and everyone here in this panel, we are volunteering our time in many capacities. So everyone has a chance to join this movement. So the first question, therefore, is, how is one city doing it? Raymond, please.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you so much. So if we can please show the first slide on the city slides, please. Perfect. Thank you so much. So in City of Coral Gables, we have been over the years developing our frameworks to advance innovation, technology, and smart city equity, pretty much, to bring the technologies that can improve quality of life, but can produce quick wins, can produce quick results, and helping advance the technologies that will improve certain parameters of quality of life, from transportation, from mobility, foster economic growth, help our local business community. And today, when we are facing this crisis, we are having also the opportunity to prove how these models work in a particular type of emergency. Before, we have tested these models with hurricanes, or we have tested these models with other type of emergencies, with public safety emergencies. But today we are testing this model in a different scenario, a scenario of a pandemic. And we are seeing how we can leverage some of these frameworks to help the local economy and to help the residents in our city to recover and eventually to thrive out of this crisis. And we are leveraging a lot of collaboration. And like Lan said, we are working on this together. I am a co-chair of the NIST Data Supercluster together with Scott and with other colleagues. And we are also working on data strategies that can help us all together in this mission. So it is mission driven. So in our framework, we start with vision. So our vision, we call it Quality 4.0, by leveraging Industry 4.0 technologies like artificial intelligence and machine analytics, and leveraging those technologies for quality, to improve quality of life, to become more resilient. In the sense of risk management and cybersecurity, our vision is to have safe and secure communities, basically. So that's our alignment of our vision in smart cities with cybersecurity and with safety.
Sorry, Raymond, I'm moving. Maybe my mouse is super jumpy.
No problem. Thank you so much. Perfect. So on the strategic focus areas, basically we have risks all over the place and new risks, and the risks that we don't know yet. And how do we become adaptable? How can we survive those risks and mitigate those risks? With holistic strategies. So strategies that are going from data to public safety, to sustainability, to enterprise systems and digital transformation, to digital inclusion. So we are putting all those strategies together for the sake of become more resilient. And the second framework talks about qualities. How can we implement quality strategies, quality engineering frameworks and best practices to become more resilient? So it's basically applying the industrial engineering model or quality model of DMAIC. So design, measure, analyze, improve, and control for safety and for resilience. So bake that in, like Lan said. So how can you incorporate cybersecurity into those quality assurance strategies, into your production cycles, into your operations? And we have done that, and that's key for us. And the third framework talks about robust networks for high-speed communications. So having that digital inclusion, having that broadband infrastructure that allows everything else to work and provide services to the citizens. So how can you make it secure? And normally that's the first thing that people think about in cybersecurity is the network and transport layers and routing layers. But at the end, you have to understand security and safety and risk management is part of everything you do. It's part of every application you implement in the network, part of every vision that you set forth, part of every planning strategy that you have. So security and risk management has to be an integral part of everything. So when someone asks you, how much dollars do you invest for cybersecurity? It's a difficult question to answer, because in reality, every effort that you have in your enterprise, in your organization, has to have a built-in security component from the early phase, from ideation. It's an integral part. It's not a silo, and it's not an afterthought. It has to be part at the very beginning when you are conceiving those strategies and those visions. And so the network has to be secure. And the network becomes more complex when you are supporting other layers. So that goes to our framework number 4, which is the Smart City Engineering Framework, where you have layers of high-speed communications, cyber physical systems, and IoT, and data clouds and environments, and then a smart city hub of value that you are providing to the ecosystem of people, businesses, organizations. And now what we call today digital reality. So the systems, the IoT and the AIs. So all that plethora of services that you are providing. So have to incorporate security strategies as well as the cloud that is supporting it, as well as the cyber physical layer. So you have a multi-layered approach to risk management and to security. Then that complexity brings the need for interoperability, our 5th framework. how can you break those silos and make sure that you have data governance, that you have security across the board through all those vertical applications. So it's enterprise risk management and business process review across the board that you also have to do in your enterprise systems. That's our 6th framework. And finally, I would say it has to be part of every project. Every project in the organization has to be a strategic project, but at the same time, it has to be a safe project. It has to be a secure project. You open yourself for a risk and vulnerability when you don't follow best practices throughout the implementation of any project. And that is something that you have to consider. A project involves change. Change involves also risk. And finally, I would say strategic partnerships. This communication that we are having together here in this forum, where I'm learning so much from all the experts, and we are exchanging ideas that make us also more resilient. It's a continuous learning process. So we don't have too much time, Lan, but if you want, I'm gonna, if you want, move to the last slide, and I'm gonna mention about our collaboration to help local businesses really quick. So basically, our previous slides that I'm gonna skip basically talked about what we did during COVID-19 to help our community with data analytics, implementing analysis from data coming from IoT, from traffic sensors, from water quality sensors, from environmental sensors. So we leverage all that data and we shared our learnings through publishing papers to IEEE or to the NIST GCTC and other avenues. And lastly, I want to mention what we're doing together to help our community recover. So we have done a series of different efforts from economic grants that we have issued. Our economic development department is leading the way, helping the businesses with the small businesses with grants. Our small businesses are hiring the majority of the workforce in our city. So it's imperative to help those small businesses survive at this time. We are also helping our community with education, with digital literacy, trying to raise awareness on cybersecurity, hygiene, and best practices. So 600+% of increase in cyber attacks during the pandemic is making our senior citizens, our vulnerable population, more vulnerable for those risks. We are training them. We are providing them free training, free tools. We are helping our local businesses with free e-commerce tools so they can join the digital economy. We are partnering with our good friends, with Pam, with Lan, with Scott, and everybody that can help us. And everybody that wants to volunteer is welcome to help us. Providing free training, providing free workshops, digital coaching workshops to help the businesses join the digital economy, which at this time is a matter of survival in this new normal, in this new economy. So these are some of the efforts that we are doing all together, and I thank everybody for the opportunity to work together on this mission. Thank you.
Armando, I have to say it's super impressive that you and your team have managed to do so much. Later on, when we are into the Q&A area, I wanted to pick your brain as to how can other cities be more like also your city, being so connected with the SMBs, small businesses, and doing so many things on the ground. So for now, also our audience, if you also know of other successful examples like Raymondo's, please do share with us. We have forums like this to help spread the word of success stories so that more cities and counties can help the societies bounce back.
I think one thing they have to do is clone Raymondo because
I suspect yes. And then also on the other hand, like Zifra mentioned earlier, everyone needs to be a change agent so that the whole society can evolve right into a smarter and more resilient space. And so even when we cannot possibly clone Raymondo, maybe there are other things that we can bring up more change agents. I consider the people in our conference now are also frontline change agents. So let's dive into that a bit more later. And My next question, Raymond already almost saw through it, so already covered it. For small businesses, in that, maybe Pam, you can comment on this for the training programs that we have collaborated together for Remando's City, small businesses, that we had a built-in module, right? Can you comment on that briefly, please?
Yes, sure. So Lan and I put together a really extensive source. Lan covered the business side and I covered the cybersecurity side for some of the common challenges that we are seeing out there. Because as we know, in cybersecurity, things don't stand still, right? It's a dynamic environment. The COVID-19 created some added complexity, but that's not the only change. You would think there are. It is a constantly evolving climate and a landscape. So we put together this resource as on Raimondo's request on what are covering the basics of what do you need, because most businesses had to do a pivot and go from in-store to, for example, online. And as you and Lan did a fantastic job in outlining what are the current risks that you have in the physical, right? In the physical store, what are the concerns and the risks that you have? And then how do you, in the online world, what is the corollary for that? And what are the gotchas that businesses and small businesses who may not have an extensive cybersecurity skill set, how they can take this guidance and really be hit the ground running day one, because cybersecurity and privacy are not only enablers of the business, but they also instill confidence in the business. So it's a multi-part benefit, and I think we did a great compilation of the right resources.
Thank you, Pam. Indeed, the key takeaway from your summary I have is that we used commonsensical language so that anybody speaking English can understand it. Next, I wanted to invite Scott to touch on a bit on the how can it scale question as one of the or you can say one of the founding members of that initiative, right, led by NIST and Department of Homeland Security when you were still there. Scott, with that GCTC-Smart Secure Cities initiative. Oh, did I go too quickly? Okay, so I think I'm going to skip this one for now. This is a continuation of what Pam just mentioned about how we can scale this program. So before I go to Scott on this, let me just use about 1 minute to go through quickly. So besides the program that the team has run for Raimondo's team, we also have a Accelerator program that summarized everything together with the training program, six part series, etc. And then this Accelerator program can help small and medium-sized enterprises. It's a small and medium-sized business plus startups. So they're called SMEs now. And they can join this program for free if they meet those 3 selection criteria. And then they attend this 6-week-long boot camp at their convenience, not like college students. They don't have a full-time job. So the schedule is like you come and, or whether you have another life, this is your main thing. But for small businesses, it's got to be at their convenience. And so the small businesses can attend this Accelerator. And what they get after coming out of it is that they now have upskilled themselves and even reskilled themselves. Also, they are able to generate revenue because along the way, the team will have implemented their digital capabilities for them together. And so this program is fully shovel ready. If for cities like Raimondo or any San Jose, so we are trying to get this program up off the ground running. In a year right now, our capacity allows us to help 250 small, medium-sized businesses. And in estimation, they can generate $3 million a year. So that's where we're at. And this is one way we can scale this program that Raimondo has demonstrated. So now on to the other part of the scale it up question. Even besides the projects at local levels, Scott, could you shed some light on how we can scale up nationally and even internationally? Because this Nestled initiative is meant to be international.
Certainly, yeah. And again, I was given the real fortunate advantage early on of being able to serve as Dr. Saku Ri's occasional wingman on parts of this from the DHS perspective. So it was a great experience. Now, the things I wanted to bring up for the audience around all this as I thought about it is that, I think what Raimondo laid out for you is a really exceptional plan about how to approach all these things. But, the old military phrase, no plan survives first contact. It's just as important to remember that anybody engaged in this world, no matter where you are going to be experimenting in all of these areas and trying things out, adapting things. It's extremely important as you do that you do some degree of documentation and you share and you learn from what you're seeing and doing and you're teaching parts of it. And so it's not just the plan, but it's the plan then as it unfolds and works out, and you want to make sure that you are constantly learning and adapting and experimenting and thinking of those things in a fluid process as you go through. It reminds me of my days as an undergraduate student when I started to experience the seminar learning process rather than a defined lecture class. And in a sense, the smart community world, as you execute and work through it from whatever plan you start with, you're constantly learning in sort of a seminar environment from all the people around you, not just executing step-by-step specific pieces of your plan, although you have to start with that. The second thing that I think is important that we constantly learn in the GCTC process, for example, is all of us start out thinking from an enterprise perspective. Raimondo is thinking about the city of Coral Gables. Pamela and Lan are always working with a certain client or another that needs something for the client perspective. Splunk, where I am now, we work for specific enterprises, whether they're public sector or commercial organizations. But the smart community challenge, the smart and secure community challenge, is inherently cross-boundary. It is not just a single enterprise question. And whether you think about the layering of data or the engagement of lots of different users, whether you think about the governance challenge, it's inherently cross-boundary in nature, and that makes it really challenging and interesting and quite a handful and quite a difficult challenge, because it never stays within the boundary of just your specific enterprise. It's inherently tied to others. And then the last thing I want to bring up, Lon, is that this whole space is so rapidly fluid and dynamic. It is the opposite of something that is defined and discrete and byte by byte and step by step and static. And it reminds me, there was a book written some years ago that I think is even more valuable when read now. The book is titled Governing by Network. And all of us in all of these smart community challenge areas are dealing with governing and governance activities that are inherently networked and connected, and they're dynamic and fluid. And that's what makes all of this so interesting, so difficult. You do have to start with a few things and go do them, as Raimondo laid out in the plan. He's got some big comprehensive pieces, but you have to start and do some things somewhere and get started. But as you do it, you're going to have to constantly adapt constantly work through the organizational network pieces of what you're doing, and work through the dynamic nature of all this, because it is never going to be static. You're constantly sort of riding the surfboard and constantly shifting your weight and adapting to what's coming up. So those were the things I wanted to make sure the audience knew, that SACWU especially drew out of the GCTC effort, and that learning process continues to this day. And I think these are important parts to remember for the community we're speaking to today. Alon, back to you.
Indeed. Thank you, Scott. There's nothing like perspectives that can add insight to guide us. And one thing I wanted to, before we wrap up very quickly, is that the public-private partnership that we have been working together under Nestled leadership here, we are also able to create some publications that guide us through all those challenges, especially it's an inter-agency, inter-industry, segments in the society. So that's one thing that we're very proud that we as volunteers have been able to produce over the past 2 years. And one exciting thing that's coming up is the Smart City Framework. So NIST has guided us, and our group has already drafted this cybersecurity and privacy component for the framework, and NIST has reviewed it. So we are looking forward to one day it becoming open to everyone for comments. So stay tuned. One other thing I'll just go very quickly is the also website that came out of our group's work. And so everyone can join in. The website, let me display here, smartsecuresocieties.org. So that's the version 2.0 for CPAC, the Cybersecurity and Privacy Advisory Committee. All right, very quickly, how can you help? I think it's really impressive that you have taken the day logging into this conference from all over the world. Last time I checked, it's over 30 countries. So with this amount of brain trust, you have the power to amplify this movement together and to be part of it. So I listed out two. One is that you can join, and the other one is that you can also help us connect with other promising counties, cities, et cetera, companies, et cetera. So with a purposeful group, we can do that much more. And I am going to go back to my backstage and open up a poll that you can participate in. So unhide. So right now, see if you all can see under polls. I would like to help with digital safety net and see which selection you're able to pick and help. And with that, we have run out of time to answer questions online, but those questions can be answered offline by getting back to you on email. So with that being said, John, if you could line up in the moderation panel, I could get you to introduce our next speakers. And thank you very much. Well, before John comes on, Raymond, Scott, and Pam, thank you for being here, and wonderful, great work in the past year.